cruisers, we're here live on Adventure of the Seas. This is Royal Caribbean's first sailing back in North America. It's so exciting to be back here. It's been an emotional few days getting back at sea and seeing how everything has changed. So today I have a special guest. This is Hochberg from the Royal Caribbean blog, very popular blog. And so I wanted to kind of get into a little bit about how things have changed and what the whole process was like. And I did want to talk about what it's like to kind of fly into the Bahamas, because that's a new home port for Royal Caribbean.
Come in at least a day ahead of time, start your vacation a day early, and then you can protect yourself against any kind of delays. So that's like number one. It makes the stress a lot lower if you can do it that way.
It might be a good time to say here that Royal Caribbean is testing us twice for COVID-19. We did take a COVID test before we boarded the ship. It was a very easy process with this antigen test. It was all we had signed up with a QR code ahead of time. You had a regimented time to come in.
Yes.
They are really stressing that when you have a scheduled time, that is when you show up.
Come in at your time, and then do as much as you can before the cruise. The Royal Caribbean app has gone from something nice to have to an absolute must-have.
Really, honestly, I timed it for the check-in, like how long it was going to take. And from when I started, because I had everything scheduled ahead of time, it only took about 35 minutes between when I went up there to that conference room to get the test, waiting for the test, doing all the check-in, and then by the time I was on the ship. So it's really not that long. It's not something to stress over, but Matt is totally right. You want to get it kind of lined up in advance and everything teed up. So maybe moving now to what we've seen on board, like what's been different. What has kind of stood out to you as something that's the most different?
You might notice some tweaks, but it's not fundamentally different. So that's important, number one.
Right.
But social distancing is obviously a very big part of what Royal is doing.
There's only about a little over 1,000 passengers on a ship that's made for 3,800 people.
Yeah.
So you really feel, you feel like spaced out. You're never feeling crowded.
The muster drill has to be the most noticeable difference, right?
Oh yes, that was so much easier.
Oh.
You basically go into your room, you check in through the app, and then you go down to your muster station kind of on your own time. I mean, they do encourage you to do it within a few hours when you get there, and because you can't sail without it. But it made it so much easier. This is something that even if there wasn't a pandemic, it's such a good improvement over what we had before. Still getting used to the reservations for everything, I have to say. Like that was something that took a little getting used to. You're an early bird and want that 7 a.m. gym reservation, go and make it, and you can do it for the whole cruise, and then you don't have to worry about it. So that's one thing to do. And then there's some changes in the Windjammer. That's probably where we're seeing the most changes. Do you want to talk about that, Matt?
Yeah, well, just like the gym, there's a reservation system. It's kind of like my time dining and set
a
dining
little bit like
in the
that.
dining room. There's two lines, you have a reservation or not. And then, of course, they're serving you instead of you serving yourself. That's the most noticeable change, which is actually not a bad thing. I actually like it a lot better.
I think that's actually really great. I do think that a served buffet is much more sanitary. Tons of choices in the buffet. There's no lack of choices.
Right.
Matt, you are here with your family.
Yes.
And how are the kids adjusting to everything? How are they enjoying it?
They're enjoying it a lot. I mean, really, it's the same basic experience. It really hasn't been any kind of major fundamental shift in it. They're really enjoying it.
One thing that I've really enjoyed is kind of getting back to the things about cruising that I love and seeing that, because that has not changed at all. And for me, it's things like going to trivia. There's still tons of trivia games. It's still really fun to get there and compete and see that. The shows are still there. Again, we have to make reservations, but it's pretty easy to get in. They're running more shows so that everybody has a chance to get in.
There's really everything that we remember on here, and that's I think that's
what's important.
Right.
Yeah.
The common thread I think what we're talking about is all those things that we personally enjoy, like the sunsets at sea.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the feeling. It's the emotion of being back at sea.
I think Celine Dion said it best. It's all coming back to me now.
I love that. I love that. Well, that wraps up this edition of Cruise Critics Cruise Week News. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments and we'll get back to you. Until next time, cruisers, happy sailing.
Bye, everybody.